Alright everyone, so in the last video I talked about, preparing images and using images for the web. We can also do the same thing for audio and video. Okay, so for a long time you couldn't actually, there was no native way to deal with audio and video for the web. It really actually wasn't until HTML5 came out. So from the beginning of it, from the internet till about 2010, the way it actually worked is you would have a browser like Chrome or whatever, and the browser would actually have to have a plugin. Plugin would be like Adobe Flash or Silverlight or something like that. And you'd have this plugin, and the plugin would then actually deal with the movie. So, the Chrome would be playing the plugin would code the video. So there's kind of like this kind of cylindrical communication going on. As you can kind of see, this is like maybe not the most efficient because you literally have a middle person in between, right? You had to have this plugin. So if a browser didn't have a plugin, or the plugin was out of date or whatever, right, things didn't work. So around 2010, and Steve Jobs was a big proponent of this, they wanted to make sure that browsers could handle, video and audio natively. So now any post 2010 browser should now be able to handle it. So to work with audio and video natively, you have to have, like with images, you have to have your video and audio saved in a particular format. To work with video, you need your video to be an MPEG-4 video format. I'm not going to teach you guys how to do that, but if you have, if you're taking one of the film classes here, you might be familiar with exporting your video. You would want to make sure that your video is exported as an MPEG-4 video format. If you're working with audio, you want to work with the MP3 format for audio. Okay, so for this exercise, I've actually already given you guys some audio and video you can work with. So in this folder here, this is this audio file is sound.mp3. All right, we got a juicy little guitar riff there. Here's a little
ordinary. Here in the cockpit, bucket seats, 40 steering wheel, 5-dial instrument cluster are standard.
Looking good, man. So I have a little video there, retro, old school video commercial there for, I think that was Ford, but. So I want to be able to play back the audio through the browser. So I'm going to teach you guys a new tag. It's called the audio tag. Okay. So the audio tag's job is to act as the audio player. Think of it kind of like a record player or a cassette player or a CD player. Okay. So that's what this does. I'm going to save and I'm going to preview this in the browser. And you're going to notice that we don't see anything. Normally when we have like a, like some sort of musical playback, there's like a pause button and things like that, right? So to get those to be visible in our audio tag, we actually have to add an attribute. The attribute's called controls. What this does is this is going to show the playback and the pause button and all that for our audio player. So now that I've done that, you can see like a play button. This is like a timeline. This is like, turning the sound on and off and that sort of thing. These are like other options. So this is actually all built into Chrome. This is not, I didn't have to program this or use any plugin. This is all built right into the browser. Now if I hit play, nothing happens, right? And the reason why nothing happens is, so I have that audio file, sound.mp3, but this is like I said, think of this like a record player or a cassette player or a CD player, right? If you have a record player, you don't just hit the play button and it plays music. You need to have you need to have a record. You know, the record stores the music and it gets played through the record player. Or if you have a cassette player, you need a cassette that holds the music to play back the audio. So for this audio to work, to play back this, I need to store this in what's called a source. Okay, source is like the source of the media. It actually has an attribute called src, kind of like images do, and this is where I put in sound.mp3. This is a one-sided or an empty tag, meaning I don't need a closing tag. So this, like I said, this is like the record play. This is the record that's in the record player, or this is like the cassette that's in the cassette player, or this is the CD that's in the CD player. Whatever analogy works best for you. Okay, I'm gonna go back. Now you can see it's kind of gone from being grayed out, and when I hit play, I can play around with the sound levels here. Okay. Let's try that with video too. So ever since HTML5 came out, which was around 2009, 2010, we have what's called a video tag. Video tag is kind of like the audio tag in that what it does is it controls playback of video. I'm going to hit save and go back. And a lot like the audio playback, by default, we don't see anything. We don't see the controls. So what I'm going to do is go back and I'm going to type in the phrase controls. So this is very similar to the audio player. I'm going to hit save and you can see I get similar type of control. There's a play button, there's audio. This is like a full screen thing. This is like, you know, playback and download and all that. Now, like with the audio player, when I hit play, by default, nothing's going to happen, okay? So I talked about how, like, this is like the record player, and this is the record. This is like the DVD player, or if you want to go super old school, this is like the VHS player, okay? So a DVD player only works if you have a DVD, right? The DVD stores the movie information. You got to put the DVD in the DVD player. So this is like the DVD player, so I need the DVD. Once again, that would be like source. And let's put in the video is called video.mp4. MP4, there we go. All right, this is my, going to my analogy, this is like my DVD, this is my DVD player. Let's hit play.
Ordinary.
Jump around.
A stereo into the wild blue yon. Ace of all. Now.
Playback. All right. So all this is built right into the browsers. This is nice, Let's say, a lot of times, articles and stuff might have what's called embedded video, meaning it's a video from like YouTube or something. So let's say I'm going to go to Chabot College here, and this is like a sort of promo video for the school.
So I've got my essay written, and I've been working on it for about a week.
Commercial.
So now I'm going to show you how I use Grammarly.
All right. So let's say I wanted to embed this video into our web page. What I could do is a lot of these sort of sites, not all of them, but a lot of sites like YouTube or Vimeo or Bandcamp and stuff like that, they have a way of embedding or sharing the audio or the video. Typically it's under an option called share. Every site's a little different, but I'm going to click where it says share, and I'm going to click where it says embed, and you can see it actually gives me HTML code. This is a different tag called an iframe, which I don't really want to get into right now, but essentially what it's going to allow me to do is embed video from another website. So I'm going to paste this in here. This is the width and height in case you want to change it for your YouTube video. This is like the actual YouTube link to the audio, to the video. This is saying it's going to automatically play. This allows for picture-in-picture. So if you want to remove these, you can. This means it allows for full screen. Some people don't want that. So if I go back and refresh, there's my video. Play back.
Cal State or a private
Full
university.
screen, things like that. Let's say I wanted to make it a little bigger. Like with video is kind of similar to raster images, where if you actually if you blow it up from its original size, it actually will distort a little bit. So I don't recommend making it bigger than its normal size, but for the sake of this demo, I'm going to do that. So you can see I made it bigger. Let's see, I'm going to remove specifically that allow full screen. Let's see if that removes that option. Let's get rid of picture-in-picture too. See, now I can't actually use the full screen anymore. So
I initially chose to study at Chabot because...
Alright, last thing I want to show you is sometimes we're going to have other types of media that we want to include in a web page. So we talked about the img tag, which works for images. We talked about video and audio, which works for video and audio. There's another type of tag called an object tag. What the object tag does is it's meant for objects that require plugins from your browser. So some file formats like PDF or some other formats require that your browser, like Chrome or Firefox or Safari or whatever you're using, have a certain plugin that's installed. So this takes advantage of the plugin. So usually you just type in the word object, and then we're going to use, there's an attribute we need called data, which data basically is a point to the file. In this case, I'm going to show you, I'm going to use this, you can't see it here, but if you go back to the actual files on your desktop, there's like this multi-page layout here that I got. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say layout.pdf. Okay. I'm going to hit save. And what this is actually going to allow me to do is I'm embedding this PDF into my web page now through a plugin through the browser. So if I hit return, there's my plugin. If I want to make this bigger or smaller, the object tag also accepts things like the width property, the width attribute. So I can make this a little wider. Let's make this 500 pixels. It also has a height one too. See how it got wider there? Let's make it a little taller. Let's make it... let's make it also 500 pixels in height. Okay. So, the audio, the video, the object, these are all to deal with media, whether it's audio files like an MP3, video files like an MPEG-4, or some sort of embedded plugin file like a PDF, or there's some other ones, but those are probably, PDFs are the ones you're probably going to come across the most. Last thing I really wanted to talk about, we talked about this about 2 modules ago when I was talking about the concept of an inline element versus an inline HTML tag versus a block tag. So the idea is if something is inline, like for instance, if I used the strong tag, or I use the EM tag, or I use the U tag. And I'm going to preview this. These elements all display in a line. In other words, they display one after each other. They don't automatically go to the next line because they're inline elements. That's different than a block element. A block element takes up the entire horizontal space. So something like a paragraph, or an H1, or an H2, an H3, There's going to be more that we're going to talk about that are block elements, but for now I'm just going to use these as examples. So here, you know, this is a block, this is a block, this is a block. Notice how they cannot be in the same line horizontally. And in fact, if you kind of, I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to go to inspect. This is Chrome. And if I highlight this in my elements, you can see how it highlights just this text. So inline elements, the tag only affects the literal text, right? So when I highlight this, it's only highlighting stuff that's in that tag. But if I highlight something that is a block element, like a paragraph, notice that even though the text of the paragraph ends here, that the actual element goes all the way to the edge of the page. Same for the H1 and the H3 here. Okay, so that's the difference between an inline and a block element. So how does that relate to what we've done today? Well, A tags are considered, or hyperlink tags are considered inline elements. So here I have a bunch of, you know, hyperlinks. When they're displayed, they're displaying in a line. 1, 2, 3, 4, one after each other. Not only that, images like the img tag are also considered inline elements. So when I make an image, or I import an image like this dog, I have these different dog pictures here. Dog 1.jpg, dog2.jpg, dog3.jpg, dog4.jpg. They are all going to display defaultly in a line because they're inline elements. Okay, just wanted to point that out. Some people wonder why, if you use, sometimes people will put an image and they'll put text, and the text comes right after the image instead of going to a new line, because the text and the img tag are both considered inline elements. All right, so try that out. That was exercise 5 and 6.